Over 2,500 years ago, a general wrote a book so dangerous that emperors kept it secret. Warlords memorized it word by word, and the ones who truly understood it never lost a single war. That book is The Art of War. And most people have completely misunderstood what it's really about. Because Sun Tzu wasn't just writing about battles and armies. He was writing about you, your life, your enemies, your mind. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will change the way you see everything. Sun Tzu was a Chinese general who lived around 500 BC. He was hired by King Helu of Wu to lead an army that had never won a war. Within years, that same army became unconquerable. Not because Sun Tzu had better weapons, not because he had more soldiers, but because he understood something most people spend their entire lives never grasping. The battle is won or lost before it ever begins. The Art of War is 13 chapters, roughly 6,000 words, but inside those words is a complete manual for navigating a world that is trying to defeat you every single day. Today, we're going to break down 7 of his most ruthless lessons, not the quotes you've seen on motivational posters, the real ones, the uncomfortable ones, the ones that actually work. Let's begin. Lesson number 1. Sun Tzu said, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." Simple words, profound meaning. Here's what most people miss about this. We live in a world that constantly tells you to focus outward. Watch your competition, study your rivals, track what others are doing. And Sun Tzu agrees, partially. But notice what comes first in that sentence. Know yourself. Because here is the brutal truth that most people never want to hear. Your biggest enemy is not out there. It's the voice in your head that panics when things get difficult. It's the part of you that hesitates when you should act. It's the self-deception, the stories you tell yourself about why you're not where you want to be. Sun Tzu watched armies destroy themselves not because the enemy was stronger, but because the generals didn't know their own weaknesses. They overestimated their courage. They underestimated their fear. They lied to themselves. And they paid with everything. So before you study anyone else, study yourself with brutal honesty. What are you actually afraid of? Where do you consistently fail? What weakness do you keep pretending doesn't exist? The warrior who knows his own limits is 10 times more dangerous than the warrior who doesn't, because he never walks into a trap he set for himself. Lesson number 2, and this one will completely rewire how you think about conflict. Sun Tzu wrote, "Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting." Read that again. The best victory is the one where you never had to fight. Now, in modern life, this isn't about avoiding confrontation. This is about something far more powerful: positioning. Sun Tzu understood that the warrior who is always in battles is the warrior who made mistakes before the battle began. Think about the people in your life who always seem to be in conflict, always arguing, always defending themselves, always in some kind of drama. And then think about the people who always seem to get what they want, quietly, smoothly, without resistance. That second type of person has mastered this lesson. They don't fight for the promotion. They make themselves so valuable that refusing them becomes impossible. They don't argue in relationships. They create conditions where the other person wants to agree. They don't compete in crowded markets. They find the space where there is no competition. This is what Sun Tzu meant. The supreme warrior shapes the battlefield so completely that by the time the fight starts, it's already over. Ask yourself right now, where in your life are you fighting battles you could have avoided with better positioning? Where are you using force when you could use intelligence? Because every fight you win through force costs you something: energy, time, relationships, reputation. But the battle you win without fighting, that costs you nothing, and that is true power. Lesson number 3. This is the one that makes people uncomfortable. Sun Tzu said, "Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak." This is not about lying. This is about information control. And in the modern world, this lesson is more relevant than it has ever been. We live in an era of constant visibility. Social media, LinkedIn, public profiles, everyone broadcasting their every move. And Sun Tzu would look at this and shake his head, because every strength you reveal becomes a target. Every advantage you announce gives your competition time to prepare. Every victory you celebrate publicly tells your enemies exactly where to hit you next. The most dangerous people I've ever studied, and I mean people who consistently win at business, at negotiation, at life, share one trait. They reveal almost nothing. They let others underestimate them. They stay quiet when others talk. They move when no one is watching. And then suddenly, they're already 3 steps ahead and no one saw it coming. There's a reason the best chess players in the world don't telegraph their strategy. There's a reason the most successful business deals happen in private. There's a reason Sun Tzu's generals didn't hold press conferences before their attacks. Information is power. And the moment you give it away, you give away your power with it. The next time you want to announce your plans, your goals, your advantages, stop. Let your results speak. Let your actions arrive before your words do. Appear ordinary. Move extraordinarily. Lesson number 4. Sun Tzu wrote, "Let your rapidity be that of the wind." In modern translation, move fast, decide fast, act fast. Now I know what you're thinking, but I need to plan. I need to be careful. And Sun Tzu would agree, to a point. He was obsessed with preparation. But once the preparation was done, he believed hesitation was the enemy. Here's why. Every opportunity in life has a window. Some windows are open for years. Some are open for days. Some for a single moment. And the people who succeed are not always the most talented. They're not always the best prepared. They are the ones who moved while everyone else was still thinking. There's a psychological phenomenon Sun Tzu understood intuitively 2,500 years before psychologists named it: analysis paralysis. The more options you have, the harder it becomes to choose. The longer you think, the more fear grows. And fear, dressed up as careful planning, is the reason most people never execute on their best ideas. Sun Tzu's solution was brutal and simple. Set your direction, prepare thoroughly, then move without hesitation, because a good plan executed now is worth more than a perfect plan executed too late. The window closes, the opportunity moves on, and someone else, someone less talented than you, less prepared than you, walked through it simply because they moved while you were still thinking. Don't let that be your story. Lesson number 5, and this might be the most important one for your life right now. Sun Tzu said, "He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight." Let me say that differently. Not every battle deserves your energy. This sounds obvious, but watch how people actually live. They argue on the internet with strangers they'll never meet. They fight for recognition from people who will never give it. They compete in games they were never meant to play. They defend their ego in situations where walking away would make them stronger. Sun Tzu watched generals destroy armies not by losing great battles, but by winning small, meaningless ones that drained their resources, their morale, their strength. And then, when the real battle came, they had nothing left. Every argument you win unnecessarily costs you energy you needed elsewhere. Every relationship you fight to save that was already dead costs you time you can't get back. Every competition you enter just to prove a point distracts you from the competition that actually matters. The warrior who chooses his battles wisely arrives at the decisive moment fully rested, fully resourced, fully focused. And the warrior who fought every small battle along the way, he arrives exhausted, depleted, defeated before the real fight begins. So ask yourself honestly, what battles are you fighting right now that Sun Tzu would tell you to walk away from? What are you defending that isn't worth defending? Where are you spending your energy on a war that doesn't matter? Because every no to a small battle is a yes to the one that changes everything. Lesson number 6. Sun Tzu wrote, "Water shapes its course according to the nature of the ground. The soldier works out his victory in relation to the foe he is facing." Translation: rigid people break, adaptable people win. This is harder than it sounds, because we are creatures of habit. We find what works, and we keep doing it long after it stops working. The strategy that got you here is often the exact strategy that will prevent you from getting to the next level. Sun Tzu saw this constantly. Generals who won battles using a specific formation and then kept using that same formation even when the terrain changed, even when the enemy adapted, even when it clearly wasn't working anymore. Why? Because we confuse the strategy with the identity. This is how I do things. This is who I am. This is what works. And Sun Tzu would look at you and say, "The water doesn't argue with the river. It simply finds another way." The most successful people I have ever studied across business, across history, across every field, share one trait above all others: not intelligence, not talent, not even work ethic, adaptability. the willingness to look at reality as it actually is, not as you wish it to be, and change course accordingly, without ego, without attachment, without hesitation, like water, always finding a way through, always moving forward, always reaching the sea. And finally, lesson number 7, the one that ties everything together. Sun Tzu wrote, "The general who wins the battle makes many calculations in his temple before the battle is fought." In other words, prepare in times of peace, build in times of safety, strengthen before you need strength. Most people do the opposite. They wait until the crisis hits to start thinking about solutions. They wait until they lose the job to start building new skills. They wait until the relationship breaks to start working on communication. They wait until the health fails to start taking care of the body. Sun Tzu would call this the strategy of the defeated, because the general who builds his army only after the enemy is at the gates has already lost. The real work of victory happens in the quiet moments, the boring moments, the moments when nothing seems urgent. That is when the wise warrior builds relationships he may need later, develops skills that aren't yet useful, saves resources he doesn't currently need, studies enemies who haven't moved yet, so that when the moment comes, and it always comes, he is ready, completely, devastatingly ready, while everyone around him is scrambling to catch up. Sun Tzu didn't win battles because he was the best fighter. He won because by the time the fighting started, he had already done everything else right. And that is the final lesson. The victory you want tomorrow is being built, or not built, by what you do today. In the quiet, in the preparation, in the discipline when no one is watching. 2,500 years ago, Sun Tzu wrote a book that was so dangerous it was kept from ordinary people. Today, you have access to those ideas, but access means nothing without application. So here is your challenge. Take one of these 7 lessons, just one, and apply it to something in your life this week, not someday, this week, because Sun Tzu didn't just study strategy, he lived it. And the difference between the people who read books like this and nod their heads and the people who actually transform their lives is simply this. One group thinks about it, the other acts. Which one are you? If this video changed the way you see things, subscribe, because we're just getting started. And the next lesson is even more powerful than this one.